mentor guide for anyone interested in helping children, and I think we can all attest to that today. It's not getting any better necessarily for our kids. There's so much going on socially in the world, and it's quite confusing, in my opinion, on many levels. And every night I was awoken with a dream, and I had to write down a new exercise. So it was almost like, yeah, you can call it woo-woo, subtle energy exercises downloaded into words that would be acceptable in public schools and churches and such. My daughter and I created the A to Z power cards. We're both pretty artistic. And this is what I wanted to, I brought some decks with me, but I thought, I just want to give you some cards. So I'm going to pass these around and just try to close your eyes, don't peek, and take your cards. If someone want to come up and, just shuffle through and pick a card, and that's your message, okay? That's what I was told to do before I came today, was to bring those cards. And they're her paintings and my paintings, and an inspirational thought, if you will. So, yeah. And anyhow, leading up to, not only am I a wordsmith, if you will, but as a result of speaking on stages for a couple of years, one day I said, on the scary meter, what is more intimidating than getting up in front of a whole room of people? Could it be bungee cord jumping or skydiving or something like that? Absolutely. Oh, but wait a second, what about singing? Oh yeah, that would be nerve-wracking. So I came home, and to challenge myself, I took a group singing class called Finding Your Voice. And as a result of that, I ended up, believe it or not, singing with an R&B band locally. Yeah, I went to I was taking group singing classes. It was helping my public speaking, getting the nervous system healed, if you will, and overcoming my sense of lack of focus. And so, anyway, so one day I was at a friend's party. His house had burned down, and I was, everyone was up on top of the roof before they put the actual roof on, so at the top of the building. And they had this band, and everyone's dancing, and the band leader said to me, well, I see you can dance, but can you sing? And I jumped on the stage, grabbed the mic, and we sang an Aretha Franklin song together, okay? And he says, damn girl, we harmonized, get to my studio on Monday in Oceanside. I was still intimidated. I know, I wasn't doing the focus. But anyway, I kept taking the singing classes because they were so healing for me. You get out of your own way, which is the problem. We are in our own way. And so 2 years later, I looked up the band. They remembered me. He says, well, you're 2 years kind of too late, but you're not too late to come to the studio. And I started singing with the band. He had a relative in Nashville, a little girl, 6 years old, who had a very serious illness. One day I woke up, and as I say in my neurotic meanderings, I'm thinking about this little girl. And I intuitively knew she was going to pass. She was going to transition. But what I was baffled by was, who names their newborn Patience and goes through this kind of ordeal? And as I thought about it further, I started to write a poem, because I do custom poetry as one of my gifts, about this little girl. And in the middle of it, like a freight train, came this song that had nothing to do with her. I jumped out of bed, I said, my kingdom for a pen. And I wrote down my first song, called the band leader, and he said, damn, we're putting that to music. And that's where I got permission. So, like you was saying, we don't always honor ourselves. Sometimes, and for me, I needed to have an outside force say, no, you can write. We want to do music. And after I was given that permission, I would be jogging and I'd have to run home and finish writing a song that came up in my head. I'd be at a party, I'd pull over in the car and write another song. So I was in Las Vegas at a mastermind just before COVID, and I met this wonderful singer-songwriter, and I said, what a life. You get to be an MC, you do public speaking, you help put on wonderful venues, and you get to sing and write songs. I said, I've actually written some. Really? Can you give me some lyrics? So I did speak some lyrics, and much to my shock and awe, she put me in touch with these wonderful musicians, and we created an album. So what I do, what my gift is I help people to transform any type of relationship or issue or matter of the heart. Because you see, and I'll tell you in a second how I do it, how I help, how I channel, how I'm an instrument of that connection. But I help them in a way that's so fast. We are in a time, and I don't have to, tell you, we're in very interesting times on the planet. And many of us are shifting our energy, our frequency. We're getting out of the 3D paradigm and moving into another dimension. I know that might sound woo-woo, and I really don't care. And so what we see as our challenges or our shackles in life, many of us are getting the aha moment about, oh my gosh, my soul ordered that up. I'm not a victim. I went through this so my soul could really own my greatness and who I am and my lovability and my gifts that I can pass on to other people through the wisdom of my experience. I have to say, I was driving up here in this long drive, and it gave me time to think on my way up here, and I thought, I need to share nothing else with everyone today. If anyone is coming up against turbulent times in the emotional realm, if you're finding people are dishonest or have backstabbed you or threatening you, or you feel insecure or fearful or angry or any of those kinds of emotions around someone, it's time to let them go. This year, it is time to let them go. I can't tell you how many intuitives, prophets, whatever you want to call them, have said 2023 is the year where the S hits the fan for many of us, and that's when we get to take pause and realize, I don't need to have that person in my life. I am cleaning house so that I can bring in the joy, the blessings, the grace, the comfort, security. I can let go of the fear. I can create what I call as a light and fluffy life. Everything is so heavy otherwise, and so many of us have gone through heavy-duty interpersonal issues. And also that includes in our livelihoods, in our professions. Those are connections we have with others. I remember one man, he's very successful. He had me on his telesummit, Iman, a guy, some of you may know him. And he wanted me to talk about relationships in the business world and when you come up against challenges therein. And he said to me on his telesummit, he goes, I help people with joint ventures. But I'm thinking of branching out, and I want to help people with public speaking. And I was at a very big conference, and this woman who's very well-to-do in that area, she's well-known, very accomplished, came up to me and said, looked me straight in the eye and said, guess what? Don't even think about it. I will bury you. And I said, wow, what a compliment. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got that lady's energy up. Mm-hmm. She feels threatened. You couldn't ask for a better compliment. So he's like, really? And I'm like, oh yeah. So you say, well, okay then, bring it on. Whatever, or have fun with that. But you don't take in the negativity. We are sensitive beings. And, the meaning of a narcissist, a lot of conversation where everybody's a narcissist. Oh, I've got a program on the narcissist. Okay, that's not to say that narcissists are not there, but how is the narcissist created? When they're little children, and all they really want is to feel loved, accepted, and connected, guess what? They are rebuffed, or someone treats them cruelly, or they have gone through a lot of shock and disappointment, and the bottom line, I don't feel lovable. So what happens to that little child, that little toddler? They start developing their armor, emotional armor. And it keeps going, and it keeps going, and by the time they're grown up, it's pretty thick. And nobody can get in. And that person is very lonely inside. So empathy and prayers go out to those people. The woman that says, I'll bury you. Well, underneath that is her fear. And then someone said, but you're so successful, why would you be afraid? I don't know. It was her reaction. So would you want to live in that body, be that person, wake up and be that soul? No. You want to be, as you said, the focused soul. You want to be in love with yourself, because in a way that you would want a best friend to have the same values and qualities that you have. I worked both as a psychotherapist and a school psychologist. At one time, many years ago, I was interning to be a psychotherapist, and I was working at a school. And it was a high school, and the principal said, we've got these two factions of mean girls, back to my daughter's situation, and they are so awful, it's horrible. And I need you to speak to the two, quote, gang leaders. I said, sure. So the two girls that were the heads of these nefarious groups came in, and I said, I'm going to teach you a simple truth. What? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So turn towards one another and hold each other's hands and repeat after me. When I was just a little girl, all I really wanted was to feel loved, accepted, and connected, and that's all I want now. And the girl said, no, we can't. I said, I'm in charge here. Yes, you will. So they, as they were speaking it to one another, they both burst into tears and hugged it out and thanked me and left. 2 months later, one of the girls comes up to me and she says, Mrs. Grant, did you hear about the heart circle? I said, what? Heart circle? What are you talking about? Remember we were in your office that day and we had the conversation, you know all, and I said, yeah. Well, we told all our friends about it. And now we have at least 65 teenagers on the back lawn once a week after school. We form a circle, we hold hands, and we share a simple truth. So the ripple effect can happen if one of us is willing to stand in the light and share. So many of us that are speakers and leaders have gone through horrific, terrible travails in life. And believe you me, I swear to Buddha, it is for a reason. So, okay. Brittany, where's Brittany? Is she back there? I want to, Brett, did she go to the ladies' room? Oops. Oh, okay. Because before I get into my secret sauce of what I do, oh, oops, I didn't see her leave. She was going to play a song of mine. So, all right. Well, I guess I'll jump ahead then.